Don't be jealous of my Reebok caps. These things behind my ears are my traps. Peanut butter cups can cause bubble butts and double chins. My wallet's so fat it can't fit in an overhead storage bin. This is Mark Bell from SuperTraining.tv, Super Training Gym, the strongest gym in the West. Answering more questions today for the Power Project, brought to you by HowMuchYouBench.net, The Slingshot, and the only strength magazine in the world, thepowermagazine.com, which has Eric's photo on the cover, the world record holder in the bench press with a 722-pound raw bench, interviewed by myself. Amazing interview, I might say so myself. We have a question from Tyler today, and his question is about the squat. Actually, before we talk about the squat, let's talk about a little bit of controversy. Speaking of the squat, what about all this controversy and all this hateful talk and all this craziness that came out of this Westside barbell meet, that the Westside Pro Invitational? I just kind of disgusted in many ways about all the negativity that came out on the internet. Anyway, I think everyone is focused in on all the wrong stuff. I wasn't going to make any comments on it whatsoever, but I'm going to say this one thing. I'm going to give you my opinion on one thing. And I think everyone is focused in on a lot of the wrong thing, a lot of wrong stuff. They're focused in on a lot of negativity. And one of the single greatest powerlifting performances in the history of powerlifting, the future of powerlifting, lifted in that meet. The guy's name is Burley Hawk. Did you guys see that guy? I mean, are you kidding me? People had all this negative crap to say about this and that. People whining and crying and, yeah, who cares? Who cares? Burley Hawk? Are you kidding me? Is that even the guy's real name? The guy's like 400 pounds or something. He comes up there, he unracks 900 pounds. It looks like 300 pounds on his back. And then he proceeds to squat it and make it just look like chump change. Looked like nothing. Then he backed it up with a 600 plus pound bench. Then he backed that up with an 800 pound deadlift. Are you serious? Guys, wake up. Do you know how many times that's happened in powerlifting? The only time I can think of that happening in powerlifting is A, by equipped lifters, and B, by Don Reinhardt himself, I believe, because I know he pulled well over 8. He probably benched around 6, and he probably squatted in the 900-pound range to get that 2396 total. But congratulations, Burley Hawk, 2315 total. Things happen at every meet, whether it's IPF, IPA, USAPL, blah, blah. Things happen at every single meet. All we can do is try to learn from it and move forward and keep on keeping on. But anyway, congratulations, Burley Hawk. That's an insane total. I wish you the best, and hopefully we get to see you do 24-25 maybe. I don't know. What do you got in you, big man? We'll find out, I guess, huh? Anyway, back to the matter at hand. Back to my favorite subject myself. Got a question from Tyler, who asked about my squat. First things first, I want to say that I have a lot to learn when it comes to raw squatting. I was a geared powerlifter for a very long time, and I practiced my trade, and I practiced the way that I played often, and I did not do a lot of raw work in my preparation for geared powerlifting. Some raw benching was done, but not much in the way of raw squatting. I believe when I was fat, I did like 635 for 2 or 3 reps in a squat. Back when we had Donnie Thompson out here at Super Training. But, I mean, even that sucks. That's not a very good squat, especially weighing 290 or 300 or whatever I weighed at that particular time. Anyway, I do a dip type move in my squat. I come down kind of all one speed, which is fairly slow, and then I dip down and I drive out of it. One of the things I'm trying to accomplish here is I'm trying to get a little bit of a stretch reflex. I'm trying to bounce out of the bottom a little bit. It is my belief that in any one of the 3 lifts, in all 3 lifts, you need to lift with a lot of aggression. But there has to be some thought into it as well. So my thought process is, with coming down on a 3 or 4 second descent and then diving at the bottom and coming back up, that is something that I can manage. That's something that feels good to me. Now, also keep in mind that's something I did when I was in gear. I was in geared powerlifting as well. I kind of always felt like as I got towards the hole, that I was just going to fall or lose the weight or something weird was going to happen to me. Something weird was going to happen and probably was about to. But for me, I'm trying to get the bar as low as I possibly can when I'm lifting raw. Capital R, capital A, capital A, capital W, exclamation point. As I get stronger, there'll be more A's and there'll be more exclamation points. You follow? Page 43, kids. So that's what I'm trying to do out of the bottom. I'm trying to basically rebound out of the bottom, create a little stretch reflex, create a little bit of dynamic type movement in there, and bounce out of the bottom. Those are positions that I can manage. I can kind of keep my chest up. I could do the sexy double chin position at the very bottom, and I can just lower myself the last inch or so, break parallel, and then come hopefully break parallel. Yeah, I guess it depends on what meet I go to, and then shoot back up, right? So that's what I'm trying to accomplish with that. Now, it is my belief that you should start a squat and a bench, the two lifts that have an eccentric portion to them, fast. But unfortunately, not everybody's able to do that. Not everybody is able to manage proper positioning when going fast. Stan Efferding is one of the most explosive squatters I've ever seen. He uses a slow descent. Another great squatter is Eric Lillibridge. He uses a much faster descent. Another great squatter is Dan Green. He uses a fairly fast descent. Ed Cohn used a tremendously fast descent without dive bombing. Now, dive bombing is kind of a different thing, and I'm not a huge fan of it, although it can be productive. And there are guys who can manage their positioning. I'm always looking at positioning because I think that a style has to go along with your positioning. So if you're going to pick a certain style, it needs to go along with you maintaining certain positions. If I take a kid and I tell him, hey, squat 315 fast, and he just falls apart, he's 1 second on the way down and 4 seconds on the way up, knees come shoot. It's not really doing him any good, right? It's going to be something that he's going to have to learn, something he's going to have to practice, and maybe for him, maybe his technique is going to be different from mine. And that brings me to another topic. I had somebody ask this question about forcing positioning and about forcing people to lift a certain way. There's many, many, many different ways to lift. I've seen many of them. I haven't seen them all. I haven't been around that much. I haven't been around for that long, but I've seen many different styles of lifting. You hear it all the time. Tuck your elbows, tuck your elbows, tuck your elbows. And then Eric Spoto comes into my gym and benches 635 for a double with his elbow up to his ear. Now, he did make some corrections. He did bring his arm angle down a little bit more, and now he's benching world record numbers. But there's a lot of different ways to lift big. 635 for 2 is pretty damn good. Sometimes it starts to become a safety issue. But make sure that your style is fitting into something that you can maintain. Keep in mind, I also got hurt. I got wiped out with 1,085, and that shit hurt. That shit was no joke. I couldn't walk. I haven't really shared a ton of information about this before, but it took me 30 minutes to go from my couch to from my couch to my couch, from my couch to my pull-out couch. It took me 30 minutes. I just the kind of person who doesn't really like to get a lot of help. Kind of person who's not going to pop a lot of pills and things like that. And that's the way that was. But that was a very painful injury. I'm still dealing with some of that, both mentally and physically. And so in my efforts to start to create a new path for myself, create some new goals for myself, hit up some raw lifts. This is the way that I have to squat. So start to figure out and start to get a feel for the way that you need to squat. It's my opinion that most people should start the descent fairly quickly and then maybe brace themselves midway through the squat, and then you want to kind of pop through that bottom and come back up. That's my opinion on the way that you should be squatting. It should be a fairly explosive movement. If you can start somewhat fast, start downward somewhat fast. See that little dance? Like I'm doing a little chicken dance. I should probably never do that again. But you want to start your descent fairly quickly, and then maybe tight. You're going to stay tight the entire time, obviously. tighten up about midway through and slow down about midway through, but then push hard through that middle, to that last portion, that portion where you start to get a little bit above parallel and even below parallel, and force the knees out aggressively and try to keep the chest up. One last tip, forcing the knees out is not for everybody. Some people are mobile and they're able to take their knee and go bam, way out. So not everyone has to think of that cue. For myself, my hips are tight. I'm old, I'm grizzled, I'm falling apart at the seams. And so for me, I have to kind of think about shoving my knees out towards the bottom of the lift in order to drop my hips lower. Last but not least, I promise you, is try to make sure that you continue to have your hips move downward in your squat and not your upper body. Make sure that you start to get out some of those wrinkles, some of those default positions that you see from the upper body. Some things get a little screwy, some things get a little weird. Try to maintain an upright position and continue to have your hips drop over and over and over again throughout the entire range of motion. Watch Ed Cohn, watch Dan Green. Strength is never weakness, and that is it from supertraining.tv.